Little stars that dance below. Once upon a time, in the days when the heavens were closer to the earth, and the night sky still whispered secrets to those who listened, there lived countless stars that twinkled high above the forests and villages. Most were content to hang in their places, shining coldly and eternally, but not all. There were some among them, restless, merry little sparks, who grew weary of their distant vigil. Night after night they gazed down upon the slow, warm lives of mortals, children chasing fireflies through meadows, lovers strolling beneath the moon, foxes slipping through the underbrush. Ah, sighed the little stars to one another, how fine it would be to feel the cold grass under our feet, to hide in the shadows of ancient stones, to laugh with voices no louder than the rustle of leaves. One midsummer's eve, when the veil between sky and earth grew thin, a band of these bold stars slipped away from their brethren. They tumbled down like falling embers, soft and silent, landing in a forgotten glade deep within the dark wood. On earth, they took the shapes of strange little folk, no taller than a child's knee, slender as young reeds, with skin that glowed faintly from within, as though a lantern burned in each tiny chest. Their forms were not quite right for this world. Some had limbs with too many joints that bent like willow branches. Others had too few, moving with an eerie grace. Their eyes sparkled like hot coals in a dying fire, and when they laughed, it sounded like silver chimes stirred by a gentle breeze. These star children wandered the land in delight. They hid in thick hedges and peered from the mouths of old wells. They rolled down grassy hills like tumbling glowworms, slipping unseen through bustling market squares where peasants haggled over bread and wool. By night, they danced in empty fields, weaving circles that left the dew aglow, and they rearranged river pebbles into curious patterns that baffled the shepherds come morning. Never did they mean true harm, only a bit of harmless mischief, the kind that brings wonder rather than woe. Yet there was an ancient law, older than the oldest oak, older than the sky itself. If a star upon the earth was truly discovered, it would no longer linger below. To discover such a star was no simple matter of glimpsing its glow. One must name it for what it truly was. Thou art a star fallen from heaven, and hold it fast in hand or heart until its chime-like laughter faded to silence. Then, bound by the unbreakable decree, the star had no choice but to grant a single wish to its captor. Alas, the wish was never what the star desired. Greedy folk wished for gold that weighed heavy in their pockets. The sorrowful wished for lost love's return. The ambitious wished for thrones and crowns. And always, once the wish was spoken and fulfilled, a great sadness came upon the little creature. Its inner glow sharpened to a fierce brilliance. Its whimsical body stretched and thinned, pulling upward like a silken thread drawn by an unseen hand. With a final, fading chime of laughter, it shot back into the velvet sky, resuming its cold and distant place among the others, fixed forevermore, unable to descend and play again. That is why, dear children, the stars now shine so steadily and solemnly above. They remember their lost freedom and watch with longing eyes. If you glimpse something small darting through the tall grass, or hear a faint laughter like distant bells at the edge of hearing, turn your gaze away and pretend you saw nothing at all. For who among us would be so cruel as to end a star's fleeting joy? The Moonbeam Ladder. There once was a poor woodcutter who lived with his only daughter in a small house built upon the ruins of an ancient castle long fallen to dust. The girl was named Liesel, fair of face and gentle of heart, and she tended the hearth in the garden while her father chopped wood in the forest. One night, in the fullest moon of the year, when the air was still and silver light lay thick upon the ground, Liesel looked out her window and beheld a wondrous thing. A ladder woven wholly of moonbeams stood against the old ruins wall. Its rungs shone soft and bright, stretching upward until they were lost among the stars. Liesel feared at first, yet curiosity was stronger than fear. She stepped out on her bare feet, and the moonbeams were cool and firm beneath them. Up she climbed, higher than the treetops, higher than the highest hills, until she came to a castle that floated among the clouds, its towers of white stone and its roofs of silver tile. At the gate stood a young prince, clad in garments pale as moonlight. He greeted her kindly and said, "Once every year the moon builds this ladder to my door, that a mortal maid may visit the sky realm. Come, and I will show you thee its wonders." He took her by the hand and led her forth. First they crossed a lake of clearest crystal, wherein swam fishes of living light. Then they wandered through caverns of emerald, whose walls sparkled with 1,000 gems, and at last they came to a high place where the moon hung so near that one might reach out and touch it. Liesel laid her hand upon its edge, and it was smooth and cold as polished marble, yet it filled her heart with quiet joy. The prince watched her with growing wonder, and ere the night was ended, he loved her dearly. But when the first faint glow of dawn touched the east, the moonbeam ladder began to fade. Liesel bade the prince farewell and descended swiftly, and no sooner had her feet touched the earth than the ladder melted into mist. The prince waited through all the long year, gazing down from his castle upon the little house among the ruins. His heart ached for the maiden he had seen but once, and no song or feast could cheer him. When the full moon came again and the ladder of light rose anew, Liesel climbed as before. The prince met her at the gate with joy in his eyes, and straightway he knelt and said, "Liesel, fairest of mortals, be my bride and dwell with me here in the castle in the sky. Once every year, when the moon builds her ladder, thou mayest descend and visit thy father, but let thy true home be with me." Liesel looked upon him and saw that his love was true. She gave him her hand and her promise, and they were wed in the silver halls amid great rejoicing. From that time forth Liesel lived in the sky castle with her prince. Yet every year, when the moon was at its fullest, the ladder of moonbeams appeared once more beside the old ruined wall. Then Liesel would descend to embrace her aged father and spend a day upon the earth, and when night fell, she climbed again to her home amongst the clouds. And so they dwelt in happiness, the prince and his bride, until the end of their days. The Kite Runner. In a high mountain valley where the wind never slept nor grew weary, there dwelt a people who held each year a great festival of kites. The wind in that place was so strong and steadfast that once a kite was loosened into the heavens, it did not descend again, but hung there day after day, faithful as the moon itself. Among these folk lived a boy named Jacob, who toiled all summer long upon a single kite. He chose the lightest bamboo, shaved the paper thin as morning mist, and knotted every joint twice over. When the festival day came, he carried his kite to the highest ridge and drove its line deep into the rock. The wind caught it at once, and the kite rose swift and true. It did not return. Through bright days and stormy nights, through many weeks, it floated high above the valley, tugging gently at its cord, like a thought that would not be forgotten. Now there was in the valley an old mage, gray-bearded and solemn, whom all men honored. This mage could run across the frames of the kites as though they were solid roads laid in the sky. He ran swiftly, yet without haste, head bent to the wind, listening to its song beneath his feet. The children watched him from far below in silent wonder, and none dared to ask by what art he did this thing. But Jacob longed to know. One clear morning, he climbed the ridge alone and set his foot upon the line of his own kite. The wind rose fierce, the line lashed like a whip. The boy slipped and fell, and his right arm was broken upon the stones. Many days he lay in bed, pale and quiet, hearing the wind cry about the house and seeing his kite still hanging unmoved in the heavens. One evening the mage came to him. He spoke neither blame nor pity, but sat beside the bed and asked only, "Didst thou hear the wind turn before thou fellest?" Jacob nodded. "Then hast thou already begun," said the mage. When the arm was whole again, the mage returned. He taught the boy not to force himself upon the line, but to wait until the line was willing to bear him. Not to strive against the wind, but to heed its voice, when it would lift and when it would hold. First they practiced upon a rope stretched upon the earth, then upon lines hung low between the pines. At last, upon the kite that had never come down. Jacob stepped forth, trembled at first, then grew bolder, until the wind bore his weight without murmur and let him run, slowly at the beginning, then swifter and surer, across the bright frames high above the valley. From that year onward, the mage ran the sky no longer alone. But the boy never ran in pride or haste, never forgot his fall, and never set foot upon a kite without first listening long. The Cat Who Kept Watch by Matt Green. There once was a man who lived alone in a small house at the edge of the forest, and with him a cat. The house was quiet by day, but by night the air grew heavy, and shadows moved where shadows should not be. The man slept, but the cat watched. On the first night, a thing entered the room. It did not knock, nor come through the door, nor slip through the window. It gathered itself in the darkest corner, waiting for the man's breath to grow shallow, for his body to let go of its hold on life. It was a small thing, but it had teeth in the shadows and claws in the unseen. The cat rose and saw it. His fur bristled, his eyes glimmered like pale moons. He stepped between the creature and the bed. The thing hesitated, for it had not been seen in many years. It tried to push forward, but the cat did not move. He sat, unwavering, and the room grew still as stone. The creature, unable to cross his gaze, slipped back into the walls, and was gone by morning. The cat leapt onto the bed and lay upon the man's chest, holding the warmth of his life until the sun came. The second night the creature returned. This time it was clever. It did not linger in the corners. It crept into the man's dreams, soft and subtle, and drew him toward a deep sleep from which you might not wake. The man's brow furrowed. His lips whispered half words. His chest rose and fell in uneasy rhythm. The cat saw all. He leapt again, this time upon the man's chest, with claws pressed lightly to hold him fast. He purred, low and steady, filling the room with a sound older than houses or walls, and the creature recoiled. It tried to bend itself thin, to make the cat vanish, as if it were only a dream. But cats are older than dreams. The creature shrieked silently and fled once more, leaving only a faint cold in the air. The third night, the creature came again, and this time it came for the cat. It crouched by the door and cried like something wounded, hoping the cat would leave his post and follow. But the cat knew the trap. He had lived long enough to know that some nights must be faced and ended, no matter the cost. He rose slowly, ears flat, tail stiff, and went to meet it. The creature struck. It lunged thin and fast, fangs that seemed sharper than steel, but the cat arched his back, planted his paws, and stood firm. The house itself seemed to remember the old laws of threshold. Here was the guardian, and none could pass. The creature screamed without a sound and tore itself apart, scattering like smoke back into the cracks from which it had come. And then it was gone. It never returned. When the sun rose, the man woke, breathing easily, feeling as if a great weight had been lifted, though he knew not why. The cat lay curled by the hearth, eyes half closed, as if nothing had happened at all. But those who have watched know the night had passed because the cat had stood. The room was safe, the house unbroken, the man still among the living. From that day on, the nights around the house were empty. The shadows stayed where they belonged. The man never knew what had come for him, nor how narrowly he had been spared. He only knew the quiet presence of the cat and the warmth at his side. And the cat? He slipped along in patches of sunlight, careful in his movements, quiet in his pride. He had done what cats have always done. He guarded life without seeking praise, and waited for the dark to return no more. And so it is said, in the old ways, that some guardians need no sword and speak no spell. They are small and watchful and patient, and when they stand their ground, even the shadows know better than to linger. The Cat with Two Lives by Matt Green. Once upon a time, there lived an old man and a cat who had grown old together. The cat had once been young and bold, leaping from roof to beam, chasing shadows, and tumbling from heights that would kill any common beast. 9 lives he'd been given at his birth, as all cats are, but one by one he had spent them on folly and daring. Now only 2 remained, and he felt their thinness in his bones, as cats feel such things, not by counting, but by the heaviness that comes when little is left. The old man too had grown feeble. He no longer opened the windows wide against the wind, for the world outside had become too large and cold. They shared the same hearth, the same quiet days, the same slow tread across the creaking floor. Neither spoke much, yet each understood the other's silence. One evening, as winter drew near, the old man took to his bed as if never to rise again. His breath came shallow and labored, his cheeks grew pale as ashes. He stared at the rafters as though seeking an answer there. Death hovered in the corners of the room, waiting with patient steps. The cat watched from the foot of the bed. He knew the signs, for cats have keen sight in matters of life and ending. He rose, arched his back, and stepped forward. Never before had he spoken to the dark powers that rule such things, for cats do not bargain lightly. Yet this time, he felt it right to speak. "I offer one of my 2 lives," said the cat in a low voice. "Not the last, but the one that lies nearest. Take it, and let the old man rise once more." The room grew still as stone. A cold wind stirred the curtains, though the windows were shut fast. Then the weight upon the old man's chest lifted. His breathing steadied. Color crept back into his hands, and he slept deeply, the sleep of one who shall wake again. The cat felt the life slip from him like a shadow fleeing at dawn. One life gone, only one left. He leapt onto the bed and curled against the old man's side, guarding the borrowed time as fiercely as any treasure. The old man rose again. He opened the windows to let the pale sun pour in. He greeted neighbors with a smile. He laughed at small joys, astonished by the sound of his own voice. He never learned the reason for his reprieve, only that mercy had touched him unasked. And the cat? He grew slower still, yet he did not fade. His single life settled within him like a warm ember, steady and enduring. He sought the sunniest patches on the floor, napped long in the afternoons, and watched the world through half-closed eyes. He no longer chased shadows or mice, but he purred when the old man scratched behind his ears, and that was enough. Years turned gently. The old man grew older still, his hair white as snow, his steps aided by a stick carved from apple wood. The cat's fur silvered, his movements deliberate, yet every evening he climbed, slowly, carefully, into the old man's lap by the fire. Here's the cat now, curled in peace beside the hearth, dreaming of high places he once knew. And here is the old man, resting his hand upon the soft gray back, both of them content in the quiet glow. The cat kept his last life close, not out of fear, but out of love. He chose to stay, and so he stayed. The old man lived long enough to grow accustomed to the gift, and to return it in small ways. A warm blanket, a saucer of cream, a voice speaking softly in the dark. So the tale does not end with sorrow, but with the simple, steadfast warmth of companionship that outlasts even the thinnest of lives. And if you pass that cottage on a quiet winter evening, you may see, through the lamplit window, 2 old friends still together, each with one life, and both content to let the days unfold as they will. The Child Who Stayed by Matt Green. Once there were 2 children, a brother and a sister, who wandered farther into the woods than they had been told. Their village lay behind them like a forgotten thought, and the trees closed in gently, as if making room. In a clearing they met the fawns. They were young fawns, no taller than the children themselves, with small horns like smooth twigs, and legs thin as reeds. They laughed often, and ran in circles, and their hooves made no sound upon the moss. They were not afraid. The children asked them who they were, and the fawns only answered with their names, which sounded like bells struck underwater, and could not be remembered afterward. All that day the fawns spoke of one thing. "He is coming," they said, clapping their hands. "He is very fun," said another, leaping from stone to stone. "He brings flying," said the smallest, spinning until she fell laughing into the ferns. The children asked who he was, but the fawns would not say. They only smiled and told them to wait. When the sun leaned low and the light grew thick and golden, the air changed. The birds fell silent. The warmth sharpened, as if fire hid itself beneath the skin of the world. Then he came. He stepped from between the trees as though the forest itself had parted for him. He was shaped like a man, but larger, broader, with shoulders that seemed too wide for the path. His skin was dark and scaled in places, and when he breathed, smoke drifted faintly from his mouth. Behind him folded wings that looked at first like a cloak, and then did not. The children trembled, but the fawns ran to him at once, shouting and laughing. "You're late," they cried. "You promised the sky. Carry us, carry us!" He bent down, and when he smiled, his teeth caught the light like polished bone. Yet his voice was warm, and when he spoke, it was with kindness that felt very old. "Climb," he said. One by one the fawns scrambled onto his back, gripping his shoulders and horns. Then he looked at the children. "Would you like to fly?" he asked. Before fear could find its way back to them, they climbed up as well. With a great sound like a furnace breathing, he rose. The ground fell away. The trees shrank to green needles. The river twisted itself into silver thread. The wind tore laughter from their throats and scattered it across the sky. They flew higher than the birds, higher than the clouds that broke apart around them like pale wool. The fawns shrieked with delight. The children forgot the weight of their own bodies and the names of the days. At last he descended, gently as falling ash, and set them down again in the clearing. The forest looked the same, but it was not. The light was deeper. The shadows leaned closer. The fawns gathered around the children, eyes bright, breath quick. "You can stay," they said. "You can play every day. No one grows old here." The winged man crouched before them. "You may stay," he said, "or you may go back." No threat lay in his words, no promise either. The brother felt his heart pull toward home, toward bread and smoke and his mother's voice calling at dusk. His feet ached suddenly for the road. The sister felt something else. The forest seemed to know her name. The air fit her lungs as though it had always been waiting. "I will go back," said the brother, and his voice shook. "I will stay," said the sister, and her voice did not. The fawns nodded, as if this were a thing already decided. The winged man placed one hand upon the boy's head. "Go, carefully," he said. Then he turned, and the fawns and the girl climbed upon his back. With a rush of heat and wind, they rose and were gone, swallowed by the trees and the sky together. The boy found his way home before night fully fell. He told his tale, but the words sounded thin in the telling. The villagers shook their heads and said the woods were not to be trusted. Years passed. The boy grew tall and strong. Yet sometimes when the wind blew warm through the trees, he would hear laughter far above and look up. And in the forest the fawns still dance, and sometimes when the light is just right, the great shadow passes overhead, winged and joyful, and those who have seen it feel, for a moment, that they have been invited somewhere they can never quite reach again. And so the old ones say, not all who are taken are stolen, and not all who stay behind are spared. The Girl Who Fell from the Stars. Long ago, before the night sky was crowded with light, there lived a small village that sat at the edge of a wide, silent plain. The people there believed that stars were watchful things, listening more than shining. One winter evening, a star loosened itself from the sky. It did not fall like fire. It drifted down slowly, as though it had forgotten where it belonged. By morning, the villagers found a child lying in the frost beyond the fields. She was pale and quiet, wrapped in a thin glow that faded as the sun rose. No one knew where she had come from, but when they asked her name, she only said, "I am a star." They took her in and called her Luma, for light. Luma grew as human children do, though she was never quite the same. She did not fear the dark. She woke before dawn and watched the sky, as if waiting for something to answer her. At night, when the village lamps were extinguished, a faint shimmer returned to her skin. She did not remember the sky clearly, only the feeling of distance and a longing she could not explain. Years passed, and the villagers forgot where she had come from, but the stars did not. On a night when the moon was thin and the wind stood still, the sky grew unusually bright. One by one, the stars seemed to lean closer to the earth, and Luma felt her chest ache with recognition. She walked beyond the village, out onto the plain where she had first been found. The stars called to her, not in words, but in warmth. She remembered then what she had been, not a single light, but part of something vast. She had fallen not by accident, but by curiosity. She had wanted to know what it was like to live briefly and brightly, and to be loved by those who would one day be gone. As dawn approached, her glow returned fully. The grass around her shimmered. The sky opened, quiet and immense. Luma did not leave footprints when she rose. When the villagers came looking for her, they found only a soft warmth in the air, and above them, one new star shining where there had been none before. Slightly dimmer than the rest, but closer somehow. The Man Who Took the Sun. There once was a poor peddler named Conrad, who wandered from village to village with his pack of needles, ribbons, and pots. One hot midday, he came upon an old man sitting beneath an oak tree, dressed in a ragged cloak, yet with eyes bright as fire. The old man raised his hand toward the blazing sun, reached as though plucking fruit, and lo, a golden coin fell into his palm, warm and shining. Conrad stared in wonder. "How was this done, Father?" The old man smiled thinly. "The sun is generous to those who ask with open hand and empty heart. Try if thou hast need." Conrad, whose purse was lighter than his shadow, lifted his arm toward the sun, spread his fingers, and grasped. At once a heavy golden coin dropped into his hand, hotter than any forge. He laughed aloud with delight. But in the same moment the sky grew dark. A great cry arose from the fields and houses, for the sun had vanished utterly. No light remained save the pale glimmer of stars that should not yet be seen. Conrad looked at the coin in horror. It burned his skin, yet he dared not drop it. He ran back to the oak, but the old man was gone, and only a dry leaf whirled where he had sat. Night fell, though it was midday. The bitter cold came with it. Birds fell frozen from their branches. Rivers began to ice over. Conrad, filled with fear and guilt, set out to find the old magician and restore what he had stolen. First, he met a shepherd who said, "Climb the highest mountain and throw the coin back into the air to return it to its rightful place." Conrad climbed until his hands bled, hurled the coin skyward with all his strength, but it fell back to earth, and the darkness remained. Next he met a wise woman by a frozen stream. She told him, "Bury the coin in the earth and beg forgiveness of the roots." He dug until his fingers ached, buried the coin, and prayed through the night. But then he uncovered it at dawn that was no dawn. The coin lay gleaming, and the sky was still black. Then he came to a blacksmith whose forge gave the only light for miles. The smith said, "Melt the coin and hammer it into a mirror to reflect the sun back into the heavens." Conrad labored 3 days at the bellows, melted the gold, and beat it thin and bright. Yet when he held the mirror aloft, no light answered, for there was none to reflect. At last, weary and despairing, Conrad reached a ruined tower at the edge of the world. There sat the old magician, calm as before, warming his hands over a small fire. "Thou hast come far," said the magician. "Hast thou learned?" "I have learned only sorrow," answered Conrad, falling to his knees. "Take back the coin and restore the sun, I beseech thee." The old man took the golden disc, now cold and dull, and with a single motion cast it upward. It rose like a spark, grew brighter and larger, until it hung once more in its rightful place, flooding the world with warmth and light. Flowers opened, though it was winter. The ice melted in rivers. Men and beasts rejoiced. The magician looked sternly upon Conrad. "The sun gives freely to those who take with humility, but greed plucks it from the sky. And remember this, seek not to grasp silver from the moon at night, for her gifts are colder, and her anger slower to mend." Conrad bowed low and returned home a poorer man in purse, but richer in wisdom. The Poet's Bargain by Matt Green. There once was a poet named Absalom, who lived in a small house at the edge of a quiet town. He was not rich in gold, but his verses were loved by many. Soft words about rivers, lost loves, and the turning of the seasons. Yet as the years passed, his hair grew white, his hands trembled, and he knew his time drew near. It is said that death does not come unannounced. When his hour is at hand, he appears to each soul and asks for a story. If the story pleases him, he grants one more day upon the earth. If it does not, he leads the soul gently away. Most folk tell simple tales of a child's laugh, a kind deed, or a quiet evening by the fire. Death listens, nods, and sometimes lingers a little while. When death came for Absalom, the poet was sitting at the window watching snow fall upon the garden. Death stood in the doorway, tall and cloaked in shadow, yet not unkind. "Tell me a story," Death said, his voice low as winter wind. Absalom thought for a long moment, then he smiled and began. Not a tale about his own life, but a poem. He spoke of a man who feared the end, who walked the world gathering words like flowers, weaving them into verses that would outlast stone and bone. He told of love that did not fade, of rivers that sang forever, of stars that remembered every wish made upon them. Line after line he spoke, soft and clear, each verse flowing into the next without pause. Death listened, still as night, his head slightly bowed. When Absalom finished the first poem, he did not stop. He began another, and another after that. Stories within stories, songs within songs, each one more beautiful than the last. Hours passed. The snow ceased. Dawn touched the window pane, yet death did not stir. At last Absalom's voice grew faint. He looked upon death and said, "There is always one more verse." Death waited. Absalom spoke again, a single line, delicate as frost. Then silence fell. Death stood long in thought. Finally he spoke. "Thy tale pleases me more than any I have heard. I grant thee one more day." But Absalom only smiled. "Then I shall tell thee another tomorrow." Death inclined his head and parted. The next evening he returned. Absalom told a new poem. Death listened, granted another day, and left. So it went, night after night, year after year. Absalom grew no older in body, for each story brought him another dawn. His verses filled books. Travelers carried them across kingdoms. Children learned them by heart. The world rang with his words. Yet one evening, when death came as always, Absalom was not at the window. His chair was empty. Upon the table lay a single sheet of paper with fresh ink. "My tales have ended, friend. Take them with thee. They are thine now." The poet sleeps, but his voice remains. Death read the lines, folded the paper gently, and placed it within his cloak. From that night on, Absalom was seen no more among the living. But wherever his poems are spoken, by lovers beneath the stars, by wanderers beside campfires, by mothers soothing children to sleep, there his voices live on, clear and undimmed. Death had been tricked, not by cunning, but beauty. He had granted endless days, yet taken the life all the same. The words of Absalom were gifted with eternity, walking forever where mortal feet must cease.